Okay, one important thing, get the feet as wide as possible, like this, everybody, and try to tip your uphill foot towards little toe edge. It doesn't work. Put your feet underneath the pelvis, you have a lot more range. So be careful, you know, with those kids, like they have very tiny pelvis. If they're too wide, they cannot use the inside foot properly. So have the feet right underneath you. It's a lot easier. You have more range and precision. So I'm talking to those young coach out there who are just coaching ski wide and go forward. Like there's more to it. Okay, so you have the proof here. Like if I'm too wide, the only option I have is to press on the edge and then everything will tilt to the inside. Versus skis underneath you, you have more range with this over here. This is actually the way to ski parallel. If you have, like, you know, very often if I press on the outside, I'll end up with more edge angle on the outside versus inside. The hips dumps inside the turn. So like unlocking this over here is gonna give you like a lot more shape out of the top of your turn. One thing that is very important in the sequencing of movement, you want to have short legs when you're doing this action. If I lengthen my legs before I change my edge, you're gonna fall to the inside of the turn. Okay, so remember, if I go up, Newton said what goes up must come down. Well, if you press on it, you're killing the pendulum of your feet and you're affecting the ski to snow interaction big time. Okay, so when you're tilting that inside foot towards the toe edge, keep the legs small, don't go up too much. So here, you remember Takao, my story of Takao, like showing us like how to move from the front of the foot to the back. He was connecting that action with the inside foot with the pendulum. So as he goes from the front of the foot towards the back, he's tilting the left foot at the same time. It's time together. Actually, all the movements you're doing are timed with that pendulum. Everything. Like the speed at which you're tilting the inside foot is exactly the same pace as the pendulum, or else it feels really weird. The way I plant my pole is exactly timed. The swing of the pole and the pendulum of my feet are timed together. And again, to prove my point, I back myself up with science. One of our biomechanical principles is the principle of maximum strength. It says if you throw a ball with only your wrist, the ball goes a certain distance. If I use more articulation, the more articulation you use in an action, the further the ball will go. So when you're skiing, okay, let's say you create a pendulum over here, but if you match the pole plant with it, if you match the inside foot tilting with it, everything will be so much more powerful. So everything you do is connected with the pendulum of your feet. Everything. I see a lot of people sometimes they kind of do ha, ah. That's two movements. It doesn't feel good. Blend them through. And the way to blend them through, do a couple of hockey stop. Like this is what works the best with the guests. Like just try to make it progressive. Like everything at the same range, same speed.
Yeah.
movements together, and it makes it so simple. If I am connecting all the movements of my body with that pendulum, everything is doing the same. Trying to manage different things like, hey, slow down your outside, accelerate your, slow down your inside, accelerate your, it's way too complicated. Everything is time with the pendulum of your base of support. So here I'm, let's say you're in the arc over here and you're in the apex of the turn and it feels fast and you want to turn a little bit more. If you just tilt a little bit more the inside, the ski will arc. Most of the people here, they say, oh, I need to turn more. They like to press the outside. Just try to lighten and tilt the inside and you'll see the turn shape is gonna close and you're gonna manage your speed doing that. And I can show you a little bit, like if I combine the moves together, what it feels like the fore and aft, the tilting and the full slam together here. Together here.
A start of the progression in carving.
Yeah, sure.
Like.
And you know, like when you have, and we're trying to coach the same movement from snowplow to parallel. Like right now, if I have a skier with a V and I get him to kind of go a little bit faster, and this action here will get him to ski parallel. So it's the same movement you're going to do in expert skiing, basically. There was a question about pole length. So the question was, how come your poles are so short? The idea is when I create the pendulum with my feet, like I want the pole to go kind of to match with my pendulum of the base. So I don't want to go by the side like this. So if they're too long, you end up short leg in the transition. Like I don't want to plant the pole sideways. Like it's very personal though. Like it's not the slalom skiers usually have them shorter, GS skiers longer. Okay, so and then the last point I have for you, basically this morning we're building the skier from the ground up, just highlighting the important points for us. The last point I have, I'm just going to talk about the orientation of the pelvis. It's a special request. So basically what I want is to hinge at the hip over here. What we notice, if you have too much posterior tilt in the pelvis, it has a tendency to move your knees out. If I have too much anterior tilt in the pelvis, it has a tendency to move the knees in. So we do a lot of cause and effect relationship in our organization, and like this is an interesting one. So like the other thing is too much posterior tilt here. Very often when you do that, it puts you back, and then the skier kind of roll the spine to compensate. It's very dangerous for your disc. So what I'll do, I'll use you as a reference over here. Just take a centered position over here. The angle of his shins should be parallel with the angle of his back. So over here, he should be here. Not too much on the front, back of the front. Yes. He should be here, so you see both are parallel. But the spine is neutral. There's no kink in his spine that will pop a disc if the pressure builds up. So that's really important when you talk about the alignment. You know, like sometimes you have some skiers, they ski like this, and then the instructor will say, like, get the knee out, but if they're like this, very often the pelvis is in anterior tilt. So bring back the pelvis neutral, and it's gonna help the alignment of the leg. Another thing, if the skier is balancing by pressing and forcing the edge on his outside foot, yes, it creates something dangerous for the knee. So what you want to do over here is, if you are lightening and tilting the inside foot over here, and you don't necessarily be kind of pressing the outside, you have the legs are tracking more parallel with each other. If I try to force the angle of the outside, I always end up with too much edge on the outside, not enough on the inside. All right. So again, the recipe to change both edge at the same time is to lead the edge change with your inside foot. But the reality, what the observer see when he looks at you, is two edge changing at the same time. All right, let's go. There's so many things in this sport. You watch a video and then you see both edges changing at the same time, and then you're like, okay, I'm gonna coach change your edge at the same time. But then this is where it gets interesting. How are you gonna do that? Like, if you're dominating the edge change with your future outside foot, which everybody does, because in their mind they say I need to be balanced early. But if you're forcing the direction with the outside first, it's going to affect the whole body. The pelvis will tilt inward and everything will go in too early. By managing it with the light side of your body, that side, it has no pressure. It's easy to do, and it creates a very big result in terms of direction. Yeah, and there's a lot of study behind that. Like, it's a concept that really works, and you know, we need to, like, changing the edge underneath the body should be the goal of anyone who wants to have ski performance on the top part of the turn. But as soon as I end up not understanding how to change my edge, if I lengthen and press on my future outside leg, it takes everything inside. There's no way you're going to be balancing on the top part and shaping the top part and getting the grip early.
So when you say changing the edge underneath your body,
yeah,
it's moving across.
Yes,
yes. It's not. Oh,
yes.
Okay, now
there you go. And if I want to keep that moving across, and if I want to keep that cross under effect, don't physically press too hard on the ski, or else you stop the pendulum, and then the body starts doing the pendulum. We see that a lot. So, like, that's a bit the recipe how to keep the flow. The combination of pendulum leading with inside foot is going to keep the pendulum and keep you skiing cross under effect instead of crossover effect.
Actually, it's a pendulum sideways.
Yes.
No, it's what we always had talked about as a pendulum.
Yes.
This way.
Yes.
Not this way.
Yeah.
Now
but you know what?
yeah,
this one is creating, because your skis has shape, this one will give you direction. So the 4.5 will create the lateral pendulum.
So the other day,
process everything. Thank you guys. Like, I'm just gonna leave you here. If you want to go back, you just follow Levi Center towards this direction. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Levi.
I enjoy skiing with you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
well done.
Thank you. Thank you. So, like, it was nice. It's nice to have a small group, huh?
Yeah.
That's great.
I was thinking that coming in my head at the moment. It's so much better.
Yeah. Like, yeah. Who's having night demos tonight? Romania too? All right, good.